this tweet here, and we'll just give it a quick, a few minutes here before we actually start the streaming episode. But just give me a quick, brief moment here. If you watch the live stream, you know the drill. Might want to skip. If you're watching on YouTube, skip ahead a little bit by a few minutes. Otherwise, just hang tight here. Okay, got that launched. It's hard doing everything by yourself. And of course, let me get the last bits here now that I'm live. Should show up. Show up. Here we go. Go to my dashboard. So I can see all you lovely folks when you message me. Real quick too. Oh man, I'm terrible. Today I'm like, it's funny. I've been up for last several hours, but I've been kind of goofing today. Just relaxing a little bit. This week has not been a fun week exactly. And the coming weeks are not going to be as fun either. It's just very, very busy, and my schedule has been swamped like crazy, so it's not like I'm trying not to do things. I barely just finished the review finished the episode last night, so it is very, very like finish the episode, trying to get everything written and going and get everything ready for today. Refresh that. Pull Zeus up. But everything's looking good. Everything's looking great. Okay. But just to give you guys some idea here, I only got one review. Was only able to do Turn A Gundam. I keep deciding which cover I want to use more. I mean, I'm doubling up on the cover right there. I'm not going to spoil anything, but just for the future, I don't know why or what plagued, Right Stuff to use this as the cover. I don't know why. For the second volume, it doesn't make sense to me. Those of you who watch this series will know exactly what I'm talking about, because this covers episodes 26 to 50. And if you look at this, you're going to know exactly why I said this does not make any sense. Likewise, I mean, we already got the cover up there, but I'm going to pull that up there, show you guys here. It's nice. I like it. Alright, I gave it some time here. So, for those of you who are not of the initiated, I treat this like I am doing a live YouTube video. So, I do have some introductions and outros. But don't worry, if you are catching this at the end, I am not ending it. I'll let you know when I do end the live stream. So, don't fret. If you want to drop a comment down below or drop a comment in the Twitch live stream, go for it. I will respond to you once I get to a break point in between my points. Excuse me. Ugh. Hopefully that doesn't keep falling back up. I swear to God. I shower, I eat, and all that stuff like that, and sometimes the food just wants to fight back. I didn't eat anything bad today too. It's just leftovers. Alrighty then, and let me make sure I got everything going here for the... Yeah, I'm going to use that first. Without further ado, let's go ahead and begin here. Hey there, and welcome to another nerdy review. I'm the Absolute Nerd. You can also call me Zaku. And today, we're going to be reviewing Mobile Suit Gundam. Let me redo all of that. I'm super not here again. Late night. I'm trying. I got this. I'm trying to refrain from Zaku sometimes. I don't know. Alrighty then. Hey there. Oh, actually, no, I don't like that one. Sorry, I'm trying to still fresh myself up. Oof. Hey there, and welcome to another nerdy review. I'm the Absolute Nerd, and today we're going to be reviewing Turn A Gundam. I'm a little bit excited to re-review this series. This is the second time I've actually watched it, but before I go into any fun little details behind this series and my review overall, just want to give you this quick little spiel here. If you are watching this on Twitch, make sure to follow me on my Twitch account. If you're watching this on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this series, what your thoughts are on my opinions, or anything just in general. Love to hear from you guys. That said, oh, and also, if you haven't already too, make sure to follow me on my Twitter account. There, I make updates about when I go live, what I am going to be reviewing next, and just random things here and there. That said, let's go ahead and begin with the review here. Like always, let me just start off with the story to give you guys some idea or premise of what we are talking about here. So for Turn A Gundam, the story is now set in the far, far future of the correct century 2345, or 2345, however you want to put it. They don't really say it in the series, but correct century 2345. Moon race returner Laurent Seychak, refresh. So let's go ahead and begin with the story here. In the correct century of 2345, moon race returner Laurent Seychak. They always say Laurent Seychak, dang it. Let me kind of get this again. I've been up for hours and I can't wake up today. Just can't. With that said, let's go ahead and begin with the story here. So, Turn A Gundam takes place in the far... I'm having so many flub-ups today. This is going to be awesome watching all the bloopers. Live right now, and then, of course, on the video I post up. Alright. I am just not here today. Alright, I appreciate you guys for sticking around, though. Anywho. So let's go ahead and begin with the story here. Turn A Gundam takes place in the correct century of 2345. Our main character we follow is... Oh my lord. Can't do it. Alright, let's go ahead and begin with our story here. Turn A Gundam takes place in the correct century of 2345, where we follow moon race returnee Laurent Seychak. And, dang it! Laurent Seychak. I want to say this. Alright, so his name is C.E. Hack. And I want to pronounce it like Chehak. And you do hear his last name a few times in the entire series. But Laurent's pronounced it in a way and like Seychak. I'm like, I want to say Chehak. Something like that. I'm like, oh. I can't say his name. I can't say Laurent Seychak's name. Seychak. Let me just read this off to you guys. It basically goes like, moon race returner Laurent Seychak joins the militia to fend off invading forces of his own people, the moon race, who are returning back to Earth. So he's like, Laurent Seychak joins the militia to fend off the invading forces of the moon race, who have returned to take back the Earth. Yeah, I don't know how that sounded right to me when I wrote it last night. Alright. Got this. Alright, and let's go ahead and begin with the story here. Turn A Gundam takes place in the correct century of 2345, where we follow moon race returnee Laurent Seychak as he joins the militia to fend off the invading moon race, who have returned to take back the Earth. This does evolve throughout the entire series, but it's remained pretty consistent majority of the time with that plot line. Now, with Turn A Gundam, it is a 50-episode series that was released back in 1999 as Bandai's and Sunrise's Big Bang... Bleh. Alright, you know what? Scrap this 10-minute mark. Let's start from the very top. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I am in all kinds of places here because I'm so tired. Anyways. Hey there, and welcome to another nerdy review. I'm your... my lord, I can't talk today. This is gonna be the hardest review to do so far. And it's not because I don't know what I want to talk about. It's just that I am so, like, foggied and sleepy. And I'm trying to read off my notes, which are kind of wordy at this point. There's a lot of fun facts about Turn A that I want to get to before I talk about my points. And I'm like, I keep stumbling because this is information I just did research throughout the entire week while watching this series. I say it's a good series. Good series. Got some issues, but it's a good series. It's weird. This review is going to be weird, just like this series. I'm pointing at it. This series is going to be. Hey there, and welcome to another nerdy review. I'm the Absolute Nerd, and today we'll be reviewing Turn A Gundam. Now, before I begin with anything, let me just give you this quick spiel here. If you're watching this on Twitch, make sure to follow me on my Twitch account here. If you are watching this on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys. What did you think about Turn A Gundam? My opinion on it? Have you seen it before or have you not? I want to hear from you guys. That said, let's just jump into the story here. So, Turn A Gundam takes place in the correct century of 2345. We follow our main character here, Laurent Sahak, who is a moon returnee himself, and he joins up with the militia in order to fend off the invading forces of the moon race, who have returned to reclaim the Earth. That's pretty much the story for the most part. It does change and evolve later on, but majority of the series is pretty self-contained to that story alone. Now, Turn A Gundam is a 50-episode series released back in 1999 as part of Bandai and Sunrise's Gundam Big Bang 20th Anniversary project. Do you have to say it's a pretty good Big Bang project? Because definitely is a good release after they release Cheese Savior. Yeah. Anyways, though, what makes this series pretty important, though, is it does return after... So, what makes this series a pretty big deal is several things, but I just want to bring out some fun little factors for you guys here. This does mark, after a long 5-year hiatus, the return of Yoshiyuki Tomino to write and direct a Gundam series in the Gundam franchise. The last time that he actually did something was, again, 5 years prior, when he last wrote and directed Victory Gundam back in 1994. I'm just trying to find another point here. Now, I had mentioned this in my Recongisa and G review, and I forgot to mention a specific person too. But this also marks the first time that Tomino works with Studio Ghibli animator Kenichi Yoshida and then mechanical designer Akira Yasuda. And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his last name as well. Both Kenichi and Akira do work again with Tomino 15 years later to work on Recongisa and G. The only difference that in this case here, Kenichi did work on the animation, which is very familiar. If you're familiar with a lot of Studio Ghibli works, he's got a lot of familiar stuff here. But he's primarily just the animator of this entire series, and then when he comes back to work with Tomino in Recongisa and G, you see a lot more Studio Ghibli influences with the character designs in Recongisa and G. And I just want to point out, I really love a lot of the artwork here. I'll talk a little bit more about that too, but let me just find a fun little spot I want to just leave it off onto. Yeah, I'll just park myself right here. Now, the music of Turn A Gundam is composed by none other than Yoko Kanno. If you're familiar with her name there, the music in... Oh my gosh, I didn't pull out this Blu-ray right here. Whatever, that's okay. The music in Turn A Gundam is actually composed. Bleh. The music composed for Turn A Gundam was done none other than by Yoko Kanno. Yoko Kanno. I'm trying to make sure I'm saying these names correctly. I don't have the tongue for this, guys. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. I can't say other languages. I have this tongue tightness. I can't talk to that. I'm tongue tied. Alright. Focus, Zaku. You could do this. Alright, so the music in Turn A Gundam was comprised. The music for Turn A Gundam was composed by none other than. Wow, I cannot. Bear with me, folks. I apologize. I hope you're getting good laughs, though. I keep screwing up and flubbing up. It is what it is when it comes to live and me trying to do a recording in a sense, right? But yes, the music is composed by. The music in Turn A Gundam is actually composed by a famous musician. Here's what I want to say, okay? Let me just say it out loud, reading straight off here. So the music is composed by Yoko Kanno. She's done work for music composition for like Cowboy Bebop, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, Wolf's Rain, and Cardcaptor Sakura. The music sets a lot of the atmosphere of the series very perfectly and hits home with a lot of the songs for me, especially for what I consider is the most saddest and haunting song, the second ending theme, which is Moon. This song is used in a lot of the pivotal moments in the series and is incredibly powerful and moving. It can bring you to tears at points. Alright, that's what I wanted to say, right? Also, I really love the song Moon. I'm fully enamored with that song. I seriously... halfway through this entire week, I keep popping that song on my, like, music. Oh, excuse me, sorry. I just can't stop listening to it. Very, very solid song. Really high tier music for the Gundam franchise, I think. Let's do this right. Now, for the music in Turn A Gundam, it's composed by none other than Yoko Kanno. For you music nerds in the anime realm here, might know her name very infamously. I say infamously. Why infamous? It's not infamous. She's not known for being bad. She's known for being good. She's famously known for, not infamously known for. Zaku, think. Get your head screwed on right. And for the... Now, the music in Turn A Gundam is composed none other than by Yoko Kanno. Some of you might be familiar with her name if you watch a lot of anime. She's done a lot of big anime compositions, such as for Cowboy Bebop, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, Wolf's Rain, and Cardcaptor Sakura, just to name a few. A lot of the music that's utilized in Turn A Gundam really sets the atmosphere and tone for a lot of the entire... A lot of the music that Yoko Kanno comprised... I keep saying I want to comprise. A lot of the music that Yoko Kanno composed for... comprise. For the Blex. It looks just like some weird-ass thing. Ugh. Okay, come on. Focus. Anyways, the music, a lot of the music in Turn A Gundam and that Yoko Kanno had composed for it really sets a lot of the atmosphere and tone for it. From a lot of the jovial, happier moments to these weird mechanized and soldier-esque kind of music throughout the entire series. Again, sets that really strong standard tone for the entire... I'm gonna throw that away. That was terrible. This is what happens when I try to like say stuff and going too much off the notes. Oh gosh. Anyways, a lot of the music that Yoko Kanno composes for the Turn A Gundam series sets a huge tone and atmosphere for it. It's very engulfing, encapsulates you into it, and it really hits home with a lot of songs. Sorry. A lot of the music that Yoko Kanno composed for this entire series really hits home and captures perfectly the atmosphere of this entire series. The music sets the atmosphere for the series perfectly and hits home with. Okay, so let me try that. The music in Turn A Gundam really sets a lot of the atmosphere of the series. Super. Or no. I keep wanting to throw words in there. Here, let me just try and say it the way I want to say it, right? That's the whole point of me doing these reviews, is saying what I want to really say. And in all honesty, the music in Turn A Gundam really sets a lot of the atmosphere perfectly for your viewing. A lot of the music that Yoko Kanno composes for Turn A Gundam really set a lot of the atmosphere perfectly, from happy and jovial moments to very sad, even haunting moments too, especially with the second ending theme song, which is Moon. That song is incredibly powerful and moving. From the melodic tones throughout the entire song to the actual lyrics itself. This song primarily, not only is it featured as the second ending theme, but is used in very pivotal moments in the entire series. It gets some moments in the series where it kind of gets very teary for me and very, very moving. Yeah. The best way I could describe it, I'm going to leave a link down below. I'm going to try and do it for the Twitch one as well as for the YouTube. I'm going to leave a link down below to the song Moon on YouTube. Give it a listen. It's very haunting, very melodic, very... It's got a lot of this kind of like soldier-esque kind of tones to it too. So it's kind of like I wouldn't say the word patriotic, but it's got a lot of this illuminating haunting that soldiers on. It's the best way I can describe it. Kind of reminds me of a lot of music that that Yoko has done for like Ghost in a Shell, and what I've seen also from Cowboy Bebop. Not so much so there, but. I'm rambling here. But I do want to say that I'll leave a link down below for you guys to give a listen to the song Moon. Again, really powerful stuff from Yoko Kanno. It's got a lot, again, that haunting, sad tones to it, but a little bit of that soldier's pace, that soldier's march. Reminds me of some music from Ghost in a Shell, primarily the Standalone Complex series. And then, again, fits very well with a lot of the moments, that pivotal moments in Turn A Gundam, alongside with the ending theme. Now, Turn A Gundam is very famous, or infamous, depending on how you want to look at it, for having a very different approach and different take on the entire Gundam franchise. Speaking about being famous too, very little is known about this as well. You could kind of see with the animation itself, but sadly, and I do want to say this too, Turn A Gundam is the last Gundam series in the entire Gundam franchise right now that was hand-drawn on cell. The future series going forward, starting in 2002 with Gundam Seed, started doing digital animation, so much of it was no longer done by hand or on cell. So Turn A, a lot of its animation, the aesthetics, the looks of it, the appeal for it, really is captured by that hand artwork. Not saying that the digital animation doesn't look clean or good either, but it really does show when you're watching this entire series. I do apologize for not having any other image beyond this one right here to really capture the animation or the look of the animation itself. I mean, the other thing I got for you here is the cover work too for the Blu-ray. You know, like right here, what we got here. And I can show you just a smidgen bit more with the second volume here. I do want to say with artwork too, I really am enamored with the DVD covers. It's funny because when you look at here, let me just show you a couple of them, right? Like, got that, we got the meeting here, we got after one of the battles, and then the moon itself. A lot of these were the DVD covers themselves, but they are also featured on the Blu-rays themselves too. When I saw these on the covers of the Blu-rays, I'm like, oh wow, I really love. I think let me get to our Lily Borgiano one. These two right here are probably my favorite, just because of the texturing behind it, and then the you can see a little bit of that texturing, like it's that pastel-y kind of texture. I'm no artist, okay, and or a huge fan of art necessarily, but there's some things I can appreciate. Kind of reminds me of like Van Gogh's Starry Sky almost, with the texture of the sky, and you can kind of see that with Gingham right here, and a lot of the overall aesthetic and look of it. So I just want to point out I really love the artwork. That was not part of the series necessarily, but outside for the product itself. Let's jump over here. Actually, I'm going to leave it on some of our artwork here. I really love this artwork. So going back to the whole point about how Turn A Gundam is very different than most Gundam series, let me set it up for you in this way. Most Gundam series take place in the future or some future-esque setting. Turn A Gundam does not start off in this manner at all. In fact, the very first episode, with the exception of seeing a flat landing with Lauron, Fran, and Keith, you wouldn't have been able to tell that this was a Gundam series at all. In fact, you would think this is a period piece, because the entire setting of Turn A Gundam takes place in like a 19th century setting, where you see more like planes, kind of like industrial, like mid-industrial revolution era stuff. You can see like a lot of the nobility or the looks of nobles and such of that. It's just more of an older world is the best way to put, and that is so strange. You get it from the aesthetics of the world around you to, of course, our characters, because most of our characters are Earthers who are from like from that time frame. We do get characters, of course, from the Moon race, where they have more of that futuristic / stylish look that's very alien compared to what we have for our Earther cast. But very much of this series is grounded in that setting, that appeal. The music complements it very well, and it makes you question, like, if you just took out the mobile suits and stuff like that, are we really, and a lot of the sci-fi elements, are we really watching a Gundam series? It's very different, but oddly enough, it still has a lot of core elements and themes presented throughout the entire Gundam franchise, and it hits so home with Turn A. The other thing about it is that Tomino, as what we've seen with previous works, if you watch any of the other reviews or watch any of the actual series themselves, Tomino tends to have a really good ability to write a lot of great characters in a war setting. Turn A Gundam is really more focused, not so much so as the war itself, even though there is kind of like, even like a small, I would say like it feels like a small war almost, like a war in a pocket. But it's a very human story. More human than majority of the other Gundam series that we've watched thus far. We focus so much more on our characters. A lot of them are very dynamic, very metamorphosized type characters. It fits very well with the themes of like cocoons and butterflies within Turn A Gundam. Those are subtle themes, by the way, but they are very ever so prevalent throughout it. Just like how Tomino writes for our characters in war stories, he writes every single character with absolute precision and uniqueness. I enjoy a lot of the characters in the series. There's a few characters I don't like, but even if I didn't like them as much, like for example, I don't like Soche, I don't like Guen as much, and I didn't like Lily Borgiano for good portions of the series too. But even when I didn't like him as much, I still enjoy them as characters, and I like them because they never, no one truly stays the same as a character. I think the only person who might still stay the same might be Laurent, but that's not saying a whole lot too. Everybody in this series seems to be pretty dynamic about who they are or what they represent. And Tommy really gives it his best when presenting a lot of these characters. The best way I could describe the entire series, because we are so focused on these characters, is that we are more focused on the interactions of our characters together. And they're kind of waltzing around with a lot of the elements and core themes to the Gundam franchise alongside with the mobile suits. It's an interesting waltz, a serenade almost of characters and story with sci-fi. I was gonna say just mecha, but just sci-fi in general too. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. There are two other characters I want to talk about too, like just briefly. They're by the name of Bruno and Jacob. There are other characters like those guys I start off not liking at all, but then they grow on me. They are like double versions of Kai Shiden from the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Not I don't think I best depicts it. Here we go. We got Diana and Keel. I think that's Keel. Dynamics with them, those two as well, was really, really nice. They might seem like the same characters, and it almost seems like they're the same character from beginning to end, but just like their appearances, everything still looks the same, but they are completely different by the end of this series. Just like a bunch of the characters too. It's wonderful to see how these characters again interact with each other and then go about with what's going on in the events of this entire series. Very dynamic, such an enjoyable cast of characters. Even the ones I don't like, they're enjoyable. That being said, with the characters, the series is also hyper focused on the politics. So, I mean, there's the politics between, like, you know, the Earthers versus the Moon race, but there's also the politics within each faction themselves, too. It grows and diverges in multiple different paths and ways. And, again, it waltzes, it serenades so well with our characters and how they are fluid about who they are or where they are standing or who they are with. Very, very interesting. Very nice. I want to talk about this too. I'm jumping a little bit ahead too as I talk about politics when it comes to Gundam Wing and Turn A Gundam. So I just want to bring this up just very briefly because a lot of people tend to say that Gundam Wing tends to be too preachy and very, very politicized. Turn A Gundam is the exact same equivalence to that, but of a different side of the coin. And that's it's kind of perfect with here how we have both Diana and Keel being the dynamics or the duality. They are the exact same thing, the same mirror image, but they represent two different things. And just to briefly go on this, Gundam Wing tends to have a lot of that political aspect, but much of it is very theatrical, very operatic. All this bravado and these orchestrated movements, right? It's very enjoyable, and that's what makes Gundam Wing enjoyable from that standpoint, besides the action, but it grandstands a lot with a lot of the theatrics of its politics. Turn A Gundam, though, of the exact same coin, but of a different face. Turn A Gundam focuses really heavily on the politics, but the action is not completely there, and it's not of such grand operatic or theatrical actions. It's, again, I revert back to, it's very human, very natural in its ways, very organic about how it is with the politics in its series. One character might be performing a certain type of an action, but it wouldn't come off as such a grandstanding because when they transition over to another side for whatever the reason, It's not of this like I'm doing this and like it's so grandiose. No, it's almost ever so subtle, but it had such a major or big ripple and impact at that time frame, or even throughout the entire series. So I would like akin again. These are just like Diana and Kai Hell. These are almost like two of the same coin. Very politicized series, but of two different faces. Super super theatrical, super operatic esque, more subtle, very human. That's the best way I can put it for both of these series. Really enjoy the political interactions amongst our cast. I can't say just specifically the characters, but our cast overall, because it doesn't just impact one or few characters. Everybody's involved. And again, going back to like the hyper focus of characters, Tomino does a fantastic job of dividing and conquering, giving everybody the appropriate screen time, allowing you as the viewer to get really familiar with these characters, getting inside their heads and thinking why they're doing what they're doing, and thinking what their next step is. It's very fascinating and interesting to watch. That said, with all the political actions and dialogue and the ever-growing dynamic character cast that we have, Turn A Gundam does suffer because of this. Turn A Gundam, because of all that I've just mentioned. Sorry, let me take it from the top. After that, now with all those politicized actions and dialogue, debate, and the characters being so dynamic, diverse, and really hyper focused on between the characters and the politics, a lot of the action and the pacing of this series suffers for it. I want to start off with the pacing, again, because we are focusing so much time on our characters, so much time on the politics of what's going on between the Earthers and the Moon race. We don't really focus a lot on action. I think the first episode really sets the standard and tone for the entire series going forward. If they never had introduced the entire series to the suits or anything like that, you'd kind of question whether or not this was a Gundam series to begin with. But again, we deal with a lot of those core themes and elements. I'm sorry. I'm getting my head on myself. I'm choking up. Choking up for different reasons, though. Not because I'm feeling sad. Although I keep thinking, I hear the Song of the Moon, and it kind of gets me teary-eyed with some of the moments in this entire series. Definitely the finale. Not gonna lie, I cried to the ending. It's good stuff. Good stuff. That's how much you... Real talk, again, this is me, like, seriously, the ending of this series was so powerful, so great, and how it ended off with the characters, be it good or for bad, it's a pleasant viewing, and it's just sad in many ways and aspects. And then the Song of Moon playing in the background as we're getting these. It's a montage for the most part, but it's like almost 5 minutes of montage, like the whole entire Moon song. Great stuff. Anyways, I'm trying to not get ahead of myself too much again. So, now, despite that, we have a lot of this political story. So again, with Turn A focusing a lot on its characters. So with Turn A focusing a lot on their dynamic characters and this ever-changing political atmosphere, a lot of the dialogue and actions between those, we get some suffrage. I'm not talking about the suffrage. Come on. Now, even though we have a lot of focus on our dynamic characters alongside with this political sphere, Now, even though we focus Now, with Turn A Gundam's hyper focus on our characters and the political story, we do have some things that suffer throughout the entire series, and that primarily is with the pacing and then the action. Let me start off with the pacing. The pacing of the entire series is almost like a snail's crawl. Because of the lack of action, and we're really mostly focusing on our characters, so there's a lot of dialogue between our characters, a lot of screen time with our characters. Tomino gets us to be very, again, familiar with them, getting to understand who they are, how they think, and what they're about to do. It doesn't become too much of a question, but it becomes more like an exciting thing of what's going to happen next or what's going to unveil with these characters. Even though you can kind of predict it, but not entirely. And alongside with that political intrigue, too, with all that being said, there wasn't a whole lot of room to shove in a lot of the action. Much of the action, too, is pretty lackluster. We do get fights throughout the episodes, sometimes more and sometimes less. It's a very infrequent number. And very similar to Victory Gundam, where a lot of the action, a lot of the fights are trying to be more like disabling each other. Not trying to result in actually killing each other. There are some deaths that do occur on screen, but it's not to the same level that we would expect to see like in prior Gundam series like the original Gundam or Zeta or even ZZ Gundam. But what we get here is that it's focusing just like on Victory Gundam, the disablement, either shooting off parts or cutting off parts or even just fist fighting for the most part too. So with that said, like a lot of the action just doesn't feel too exciting or interesting because we know our characters are not necessarily, well, some of them are trying to kill each other, but for the most part, like Laurent, for an example, isn't really fighting to kill, more or less just fighting to stop the fighting. Makes sense with Laurent's character. Because of this, again, the slower pace really drowns out a lot of excitement for the series. So this is one of those kind of series where you got to be very patient with it, and the reward is the outcomes of all this build-up, all this tension from the political intrigue that is in Turn A Gundam. I was gonna say G Gundam. Let me just recap a little bit too though. But yeah, pretty much because of all of our focus here on our characters and the political story, the action is subpar, and very much so the pacing of the series feels like a snail's crawl. But it does pay off once we get to the important or critical portions of these political dialogues or the results of certain political actions. Though, even though it's a slower pace, it's very thorough though. Like, majority of the entire series is consistent with its pace. From, I would almost say, almost to the end. Because the last few episodes kind of feel rushed. And I would almost say it's like akin to almost like Rico G, where a lot of the actions with the characters feel a little contrived. I mean, it does fit with what the character would have done, but they get to point A to point B so fast that is very different than the consistency that you had seen throughout the entire series. So it just felt a little bit rushed or so, and I felt like this series might have done better if it wasn't a 50-episode series. It would have done better if it was a 60-episode series. Like, Tomino needed just had extra 10 more episodes to really tell the last few episodes of of Turn A Gundam. Just so the characters' actions don't feel too contrived. Definitely wasn't a convoluted plot at that point, but a lot of character actions and motivations felt a lot contrived. And if Tommy just had more time to fit that time span, I think it would smooth out a lot of the wrinkles, is what I would put. Just smoothing out the wrinkles of the last few episodes. Other than that, super consistent with the pace, though. Even though at a snail's crawl, it's still consistently good, though. I do have to say, now regarding the final episode, and again, not spoiling anything, I think that the final episode does a fantastic job of what I would say is a phenomenal closure to the entire Gundam franchise. Turn A Gundam is known for being the Gundam the last Gundam series of all Gundam series in the Gundam franchise. You can watch anything up until this point, but Turn A Gundam would be the final one that you watch. Your exit from the Gundam franchise itself. And boy, that ending is incredibly powerful, moving, even sad. And not to spoil too much again, but again, Yoko Kanno's Moon is played for almost its entire duration of the song, and the remaining portions of that episode, it's about like almost like a 4 to 5 minute song, and we get a montage. And if you've been paying attention to the entire series, the ending is not a question of what has happened or what's going on. It does leave some questions of what could happen, but if again, Tomino wraps everything nicely up, like a little package, like a goodbye package for you for watching the Gundam franchise. And it encapsulates a lot of, again, those core elements of the Gundam franchise, the core themes of the franchise itself. Themes such as, the horrors of war, no matter who wins, the innocent loss. But we also get newer themes, too, such as the whole cocoon or butterfly themes that we get with Diana and Kaihel, story, the sides for Laurent, and many, many other characters. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but I think the ending, it's the happiest ending too, I would say too. Probably one of the happier endings for a Gundam franchise. And I'm not saying it's great because it's a happy ending. There are some characters, as you see in the ending episode, do not get quite such a happy ending like everybody else does. But just like Gundam, there is no true true happiness for everybody. There's just accepting what you can get for the most, like getting the most out of what you have in your life, basically. And I think that's what Turn A Gundam really ends off on such a very nice note. The best you can make of it. Alongside with this probably having one of the happiest endings in the entire Gundam series, I do want to say it's also strange from Tomino himself. But then again, the man tends to have like his depressive times and then his happier times. I guess when he wrote and directed Turn A Gundam, he was probably in a better place, which I'm happy to hear. I don't like to hear people are sad. Sometimes, people make some really good stuff, like Tomino making Victory Gundam and Z Gundam during his depressive points, and he made some really powerful stories and points throughout it. But Turn A Gundam, I would say, is, again, another opposite end of that same coin. He presents a much more happier ending, although bittersweet too, but the bitterness is not a whole lot there. Alongside with another change up for Tomino is the amount of deaths in this series. Most people are familiar with Tomino's work as Kill 'Em All Tomino. This series, in fact, is not a Kill 'Em All Tomino series. There are characters that do die, but I almost want to say it feels like the least amount of deaths in the entire Gundam franchise, or at least, hear me out, the least amount of deaths in a Tomino-based story in the Gundam franchise. Least amount. All right, well that's pretty much all I wanted to say about Turn A Gundam. Just the whole portion right there, but we're not quite done here yet. Let's jump to one of my other segments here, and let's talk about the suits. Or in this case, my favorite suit of the series. As for those of you who are not in the initiated or in the know, I apologize. Dang it. Oops. Alright, and that's pretty much all I want to really say about Turn A Gundam. Mostly it's just going to be positive, but I do have a few other things I still need to talk about Turn A Gundam as an overall. So let's go ahead and jump over to one of my segments here, which is my favorite suits of this series, or also talking about the bad ones too. So for those who are not in the know of this, With every Gundam series in the Gundam franchise, we are introduced to a whole slew of brand new suits, redesigns, battleships, those sort of things. Turn A Gundam is a little bit of half and half here. We do get some newer designs and newer suits, I'll bet very controversial ones, and then we also are brought back with a lot of familiar suits. Oh, you know what? I apologize. Let me go back one last thing here. I do apologize. Now, that's pretty much what I just want to say about Turn A Gundam, but I do want to bring up one more thing that a lot of people tend to talk about, and of all the big things I've already mentioned about Turn A Gundam, like Tomino's return, last hand drawn or hand animation or hand painted. So, all right. So that's pretty much what I want to talk about with Turn A, but there is one more thing I want to bring up here, and just to kind of clarify as well. I've already talked about a lot of the big things this series is known for, such as Tomino returning back to write and direct a Gundam series. This is the last Gundam series to be hand-painted on cell animation. And we also get some firsts with specific artists or animators in this case. But I didn't quite clearly talk about one thing here, which this series is the most known for. I probably mentioned about a few times already, though, but the one thing that this series is really, really known for is being the series finale, or the finale to the entire Gundam franchise. Not going to be spoiling a whole lot here, but yes, the Turn A Gundam series attempts to basically state that with the Universal Century already happening, but all other series that take place in the Gundam franchise. At this current point in time, only 3 other series that were considered AU or alternate universe from the Universal Century, which was G Gundam, Gundam Wing, and Gundam X. With people being kind of confused, like, well, how does this play along with Gundam? Turn A Gundam answers the question here, and it kind of does it for past series, the present series, and even future series. So, not quite midway through, but the Turn A Gundam series talks about the dark history. Not a big surprise, but the dark history is basically talking about centuries, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, maybe millennia, I don't even know, but thousands of years previously, we had the Universal Century, and we had all these other centuries that happened too. Turn A Gundam basically encapsulate at that current time frame of the present, encapsulating the past with the present. So all series at that time frame and that point is considered canon, and no longer, we have the UC Century over here, we have Future Century and After Colony and Afterward. No. Instead of everything kind of different or whatnot, Tomino wrote it in this, like saying, hey, take all those series, they happen at some point, you can mix and match wherever they took place, but they all took place in the same timeline, and everything ends with Turn A. So Turn A, and I could say this with absolute confidence, I will do a video about this too, because some fans still have the consideration or complaint or confusion whether or not Gundam Recon Gisa G, or Turn A Gundam is the last in the entire franchise. I will tell you right now, little spoilers for the future video, but yes, Turn A Gundam is the final Gundam series in the entire Gundam franchise. Regardless of, even now, we are almost 2 decades since the release of Turn A Gundam, with plenty of, almost, I want to say, an additional 15 more series that were released after Turn A Gundam, and they are still considered before it. So I can say with absolute confidence, Turn A Gundam, again, is that series finale of the entire Gundam franchise. If you were going to end off watching the entire Gundam franchise, nothing says it better than ending it off and finishing it off with Turn A Gundam. So that's what I want to say on that regard. I will make a video in the future regarding, which came first between Rico G or Turn A. Already kind of spoil it for you, but I will present proof. I did take extensive notes between Rico G and Turn A Gundam to see how it correlates and how you could argue that. All in all, the way that I've compiled it so far, not without presenting it to you at this point right now, and I'll do a video in the future. I'm not going to say when, because I'm planning to do that with a lot of other content, but Turn A Gundam is the end-all, be-all of Gundam series, of the Gundam franchise. That being said, that's what I got to say about Turn A Gundam at a series standpoint with the internals. But let me talk about other things about the series here, and I want to just jump off to my next segment, which is my favorite suits, or even talking about the worst suits of the entire series. For those of you who do not know, with every single Gundam series into the Gundam franchise brings in a whole slew of new suits, redesigns, and new battleships and the such. Turn A Gundam brings in some newer, albeit controversial suits, alongside with older and very familiar suits that we've seen in the past. I do want to talk about some little fun factors here regarding the Turn A Gundam series. So Turn A Gundam, and let me just pull it up, the Turn A here. Primarily Turn A, so how do I put this? The Turn A Gundam's design is very controversial, super different, and super alien compared to the entire Gundam franchise, especially with its mustache. That is because this series was a good amount of the newer mech designs was composed by a foreigner, an American foreigner, by the way. Let me show you right here. This was done by Sid Mead. He is an American industrial designer and neo-future conception artist. He's known primarily for his best works known in Blade Runner, Aliens, and Tron. So, with that being said, you can kind of see some of the things if you've ever watched any of those three. I would hope at least one of those three. You can kind of see some of that inspiration as he drew into this. Now, Sin, I think I said Sid. 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 Now, Sid didn't just only design the Turn A Gundam, he actually did a few other designs as well. And just to highlight them too, he did the designs for the, did I even pull up our Sumo? I did not pull up a Sumo, I do apologize for that. Oh, give me a second here. You kind of saw my notes there. Where is the Sumo? I thought I pulled up a Sumo. Sumo. How did I not pull up a Sumo? I'll put that there. So, he did designs for the Sumo right here. He did let me just start afresh here. So, Sid not only did the design for the titular Gundam Turn A, but he also did designs for a lot of the other suits, the newer suits in this series. Primarily the ones that he did do were the Sumo, the Flat, right here, the Mobile Rib, which I don't have up right at the moment here, but let me just pull up a Mobile Rib. How come I can't see a Mobile Rib? I swear, I am like the dumbest person in the world right now. I'm like, where is the rib? Seriously, what in the world? It should be called a Mobile Rib. No, it's not a Jetstream. What in the world? Did they actually change the name of the suit? That's super weird. That is really, really weird. All right, let me. That caught me off guard completely. I was like looking for mobile rib. I'm like, I swear it's called mobile rib, but I guess not. I really guess not. Ha! Anyways, starting from the top here. Let me make sure everything's still good. All right, we're good. We're golden. We're great. All right. So Sid not only just did the titular mobile suit, the Turn A, in his designs here, he actually designed a few other newer suits too in this series. Primarily, he also did the designs for the Sumo right here, the Flat, the Mobile Rib, ugly design, the Bandit, and the Turn X. So he actually did quite a bit of the designs for the newer suits. A lot of them are very strange looking, very alien looking, compared to most mobile suits that we've seen previously. I thought it was kind of funny though, because like a lot of people complain about the designs of the suits. I'm gonna just stick it to the rib. No. Let's just keep it on turn A. Sorry, but yeah, like they complain about like, oh well, it looks such like a weird suit. Why did they do that? It doesn't make any sense. And the way I look at it, though, is that, like, as we progress through the entire Gundam franchise, the suits got weirder and weirder. I mean, it started off with ZZ Gundam, and then we go to late century stuff, so we got, like, F91 to Victory Gundam. You get some really weird, almost buggy-looking kind of designs. Then we get G-Savior, and we really got, like, cockroach-based designs. So then when we come to Turn A, a lot of the designs kind of make sense, look nice at least comparatively. I mean, they're not terribly that bad. Fun fact too, I just want to tell you, the Sumo was actually Sid's original design for the Turn A Gundam. Tomino did not like this design, so instead, Tomino decided to. He originally was going to scrap it, but then he thought, like, wait a second, and he took the design. He took the design instead, and they made it more of the antagonist. So he made this as Harry's suit alongside with the Royal Guard for the Diana counter. Or for Queen Diana. Or Diana. I'm not sure. Diana. They always say Diana in the series. I'll call her Diana. But okay, so obviously you could tell that this thing is the most ugliest thing in the entire world. I don't know why they call it the Jetstream. I don't know why they got updated here on MHQ. But it's known as the Mobile Rib. Ugly thing. I do also want to note something, and I'll point it out as we keep going. So the cockpit here is in the head. Makes sense, right? Let's get to another ugly design. The WAD. WADs, that's what they're called. Or, you know, I like how the militia called them armadillos. I like that better. The cockpit's in the head. This is actually a relatively small suit. It's like a mobile worker-esque. It's okay by design, but it's kind of janky. It's not bad. Could be worse. Could be a Wadom. Yeah, this guy is horrific looking. Super janky, weird. Guess where the cockpit is? You guys done? Okay. The cockpit is literally in the cockpit area. I wonder if Tomio was trying to do like kind of like a play on words or troll at this point or something like that. So we'll keep going here, right? So this, by the way, is a very frequent, I want to call this a mobile armor, right? They call it a mobile suit, but this thing's huge. It's like a mobile armor on its own. We get the Bandit. This thing's awful looking. Ugh, kind of makes you think like a fly. A fly turned into a mobile suit. Guess where the cockpit's at, guys? Give up already? Right here. The cockpit, the way that it opens, and the pilot's standing. This is Maribel, by the way. She's crazy. The cockpit like kind of like opens up like that, and the pilot's like standing right there like that. What a design! What a design! Let me just close off some of these so we can get. Next one here, Miharu. Can you guess where this one is? I'll give you a hint. I mean, if you really think this is a really cool design, your head must be up your butt. trying to keep it PG, folks. But if you can't guess it from that hit, the suit is not, or the cockpit is not really in the cockpit. It's actually in the butt. Quite literally. Let me see if it shows it. Yeah, like the suit, the way that the pilot comes out, it literally crouches down, and then the seat gets ejected from its butt, and it looks like a hanging dingleberry. What is up with this series? I mean, why? By the way, I still think that this is an ugly design too, but I do want to say though, it's kind of futuristic with this look right here because it reminds me of like the Lost in Space robot, like the 1950s Lost in Space robot head. Little bit of Alien too. I want to say it's Saturn 3, but it's definitely not Saturn 3 because Saturn 3 is like this little like weird eye like fly probish head kind of look, but yeah, very weirdly designed. Not a huge fan of the Miharu. Yeah, I'm just not happy design with that. No. Muto Wudo is actually like now we're getting to suit designs that I think are kind of cool, but not cool enough. The Muto Wudo, I don't know how they pronounce it. It's kind of weird. It's kind of cool because the mobile armor version is actually not bad. It's like this weird like little base thingy, but then when it transforms, we only see it in combat like a couple of times, but it's a pretty interesting looking suit. I don't think it's that bad. I always want to call it Pseudo Wudo from like Pokemon, but that's not the case, but it's not bad. The flat. Actually, we don't. The cockpit for the Wudo, the Muto Wu, is actually in the head. So I didn't show you guys, but it's in the head. Now for the flat, let's guess. This is actually kind of a cool design because I wish we didn't have the concept art for it, but like the way it transforms for its its drop mode into the Earth's atmosphere, I thought it was kind of cool looking. It looks weird, but like it works. And the suit itself it's kind of really weird, but the function behind it is really cool because it can vibrate itself, which can deflect a lot of attacks, or if it grabs something, it can vibrate it to like literally destroy the object. It can dig into the ground with its vibration. I think it was kind of a cool suit and very utility suit. Very defensive in combat, but it has a lot of utility behind it. Anyways, after all that talk, if you can't guess where the cockpit is, it's in the cockpit area. But the thing about this cockpit is actually kind of unique. I don't think it shows it. No, it doesn't. So the cockpit, when it opens up, it's actually very spacious because this suit is kind of like a drop ship, right? It's supposed to bring people from over. It actually has room for multiple people to be in the cockpit, and even has some additional seating in there too. I thought that was kind of cool and unique. You don't get to see that often in a lot of suits, but I appreciate it. Now, the next one is definitely not a new one, but I cannot not talk about this suit when it pops up because I love this suit. It's super cute. It's a word I like to use for a suit that looks like this. The carpool. Or carpool, or it's enunciated different ways, but carpool is how I like to call it. I love the carpool. Such a nice little design, so cute in its own. It's got the froggish, but not too froggish, more like a toady. Excuse me. Froggish, but the toady. So it's got the froggish with a little bit of a toady look to it. Reminds you of like, aspects kind of like Gog, but doesn't look ugly like a Gog. It's kind of like a high Gog with the serrations and stuff like it in its arms. I just like this design. And fascinating enough, normally when I think of Earth suits or Earth-based suits, especially aquatic ones, I don't think of them that they would be able to function in space whatsoever. Spoilers, when we do go into space, because like in every other Gundam series, for the most part, majority of them, some of them are only on Earth, but majority of them, we go to space or we come from space, right? We do go to space in this series. and they bring in carpools with them. And somehow, the carpools function in space very well and don't have leaks. I mean, I can believe the no leaks part because it has to operate in water, so that makes sense. But how it operates and thrusts appropriately in space, it kind of baffles me. Baffles me. Speaking of carpools tool, even though they only had a model of it, they don't actually have a screenshot of it or a good image of it or whatnot. Coronator, one of my favorite characters from this series too, because he's such a weird dude, but he's weird enough to appreciate. So he does get the suit, and I just love how it's gold and it has the little commander antenna like Char Aznavour. And it has this fist, and it has like kind of like a super robot function where like you can like rocket punch with the fist, it'll fly, shoot right off and whatnot. I thought it was kind of funny and cool, so I just want to throw this in there. Now we're gonna get to. I mentioned some. I don't want to count the carpools as one of my favorites from this series because carpools were introduced originally in ZZ Gundam, and I've already mentioned them as my favorites, but I just had to re-talk about them because they are very prevalent in this series. Even though carpools show up in ZZ Gundam, we don't really see them as much, like operational wise or function. We only see like maybe like a couple of episodes. Here, they're everywhere after they start getting dug up and whatnot. So I really enjoyed it for that. No, I am not biased for this series because I get to see carpools in every single episode, but no, that's not the reason. I already told you why the series is good. The Turn X design, as I've already showed you, is actually not that bad looking. Very different for a Gundam. Some people argue that it's not a Gundam. I'm going to consider it a Gundam because Turn A is a Gundam. And they always considered the Turn X as the big brother to Turn A, which is a Gundam type. So I'm going to call this a Gundam type. Some people don't want to consider it. I consider it as a Gundam type. I think it's kind of cool because it does a lot of these like unique features where it can split off and reminds me a lot of like Psychomu system-based mobile suits or Psycho Frame-based suits where they utilize like fins or bits or funnels. Or I say fins. Fin funnels or bits. Or just like small funnels. So the this suit can just break apart into different segments. Also, it has the Shining Finger attack from G Gundam. It doesn't look like it, but it has the Shining Finger attack. And I was like, wait, what? It could do that? That's so cool. But yeah, I like the design overall, the functionality behind it. I would say it is maybe an evil Gundam. I mean, it kind of comes off like it does have its own personality behind it, but yeah. The Sumo. I really like the Sumo designs. These are actually pretty formidable suits, especially utilized by our Royal Guard for the Diana counter. Or Diana, Queen Diana. So yeah, these are really cool suits. Its weaponry is pretty meh. It's got like a little like beam handgun that looks kind of funny. Like it fits in its hand. You can't even tell it's really a gun for the most part. And it has this neat little heat fan that can this little spike can generate like almost like a saber itself. But yeah. Oh, I apologize. So with the carpool, for those who don't know, it's not in the cockpit area. Like not the cockpit's not in the cockpit-esque area. It's actually in the head. And Turn X. Let me go back to Turn X here. Here we go, Turn X. Turn X is actually a cockpit in the head. Who'd have thunk it? But the Sumo. Guess where the cockpit's at? If you don't know, it's not really a cockpit area, but I mean, some people kind of interpret it that way. It's right here, actually. It's more like a belly cockpit, but I mean, you kind of like most of the time it's over here, and then this series is introducing suits right here, but it's just finding right in the middle. Right in the middle. I cannot talk about a Gundam series without mentioning about the Gundam, and definitely, even though I like a lot of the designs in this series are very weird, controversial, and some of them are really not appeasing. Some are, like the Sumo, but I actually am enamored with the Turn A Gundam. I actually really like its design. Very unique, very different. fun looking, in fact. Its utility and utilization. The one thing that has always been a mystery with me is the chest compartments. We do see some of its capabilities. I feel like we never truly see what the Turn A Gundam can fully do, besides, you know, things that we see throughout the series and then at the very end. But I think it's a very unique Gundam. It's pretty cool itself. Guess where the cockpit is? Right here. So very similar to the Sumo, actually. They actually make comment about this in the series itself. Additionally, it does have a core fighter, which it ejects off and then it flips the armor flaps over. Sorry about that. It flips the armor flaps over and then it can fly around. And kind of similar to the Miharu, this can actually drop down too, but it doesn't have the crouch. Doesn't look like it's taking a poo or anything like that. It just literally it'll just drop down. God, what is up with Turn A Gundam and cockpits and cockpit-esque areas? I don't know. Such a weird one for this series. But that's all I really wanted to talk about when it comes to my favorite suits or suits I did not like in this series. So let me go ahead and jump off to my next segment here. I'm new to Gundam. Should I watch Turn A Gundam first? This one was another hard one for me to give a straight answer for. But I try to hard press myself to give you guys a straight answer into what I would say would be a definitive yes or no as a first-time watcher in the Gundam franchise. That said, I'm going to say with Turn A Gundam, that's a no. And usually when I say, like, if it should be your first series or not, is because usually a series would have, like, a lot of core elements of the Gundam franchise, something that's consistent, so when you're watching throughout the entire series, it makes sense. Turn A Gundam has a lot of that. It has a lot and exhibits a lot of the key and core elements and themes of the Gundam franchise. Problem with that, though, is that it kind of requires you to have some preface knowledge of these elements to really appreciate them, like from watching it from previous series. Additionally, too, the biggest thing too is that it needs to set a good precedence while going into the Gundam franchise and setting a standard like this is what you should expect to watch from every other Gundam series. While it has all those core elements and themes, Turn A Gundam does not set a good precedence as pertained to like, hey, this is what I expect from a Gundam series. Like I mentioned before, while it has a lot of fantastic and great characters to follow with an intriguing story around politics and stuff like that, it's an incredibly slow-paced series with minimal action, I would say. And with the action, too, it's not even that exciting. It does not set a really good standard of what Gundam is. It is a good Gundam series, but for your first one to watch, definitely no. I would say watch a few Gundam series before watching Turn A, like something in the UC Century, just so you can actually have a bigger appreciation for Turn A. But in all honesty, I would say Turn A Gundam should be a very late watch in the Gundam franchise. Either save it for the very end, like I've already described it, or, you know, at some point, like later on, because you really need to have that culmination of watching all the other Gundam series to really appreciate Turn A Gundam, the writing for it, and the style behind it. And if you watch this first, definitely you're gonna come into the Gundam series thinking that, like, man, this is gonna be really, really boring Star Trek-esque stuff. And I'm like, no, that's not it. That's not the same. Let me just see if there's anything else I want to pull for you guys. Not really, but yeah, that's my approach to it for if you're new to the Gundam series. But as for an overall, for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script on mostly. Let me try and I'm gonna say this cold. I'm gonna read this cold for you guys, and then like I've said in the past, I always like to do my overalls kind of like I make a nice little paragraph for the overalls to say something nice. I think that's a package. Actually, it's not my wife this time because she's not here. I don't think so. I don't hear keys. I think it's a package. So this is what I want to say is that for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script mostly for all the right reasons. Throughout the entire series, it does have lackluster action and an incredibly slow pace. Throughout the entire series, it does have an incredibly slow pace and very lackluster action, but Tomino masterfully utilizes the pacing and tension to hyper-focus on the dynamic and interesting characters that tell a highly political-driven story that encapsulates much of the majority of the core themes of the Gundam franchise. Turn A Gundam manages not only to maintain many of the franchise elements, but beautifully and powerfully ties everything together. Like a moonlight butterfly slowly cascading and eclipsing you as you exit the Gundam franchise. That's how I wanted to, like, that's what me reading it. I'm going to try and say it without ruining it. All right, so. And that's what I want to say about if you were like new to the Gundam franchise and if this should be your first. Definitely pass on it being your first, but definitely check out the series later on. But as for an overall and for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script mostly for all the right reasons. Throughout the entire series, it is a very slow, bleh. There we go. I'm going to fix it because that kept throwing me off. All right, here we go again. And that's pretty much what I want to say when it comes to, like, if you were new to the series, or... That's pretty much what I want to say if you were new to the Gundam franchise, and definitely don't watch this as your first Gundam, but check it out later on. I do want to recommend it that way. That said, and, you know, as a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script mostly for all the right reasons. Throughout the entire series, it does have an incredibly slow pace and a lot of lackluster action, but Tomino masterfully utilizes that slow pace and tension to create a hyper-focus on the dynamic and interesting characters. All right. Yeah. It's gonna be hard because I had to tie it all in together. You can do this, dude. Tired. Gotta wake up. Good to go. And that's pretty much what I want to say about when it comes to if you're new to the Gundam franchise and if you were thinking about watching Turn A Gundam first, don't. I would say, though, check it out later on, but after you get a couple of Gundam series under your belt to really appreciate this series. That said, as for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script for a lot of the right reasons. Throughout the entire series, it does have an incredibly slow pace and a lot of lackluster action, but Tomino really and masterfully utilizes the pacing and tension to create a hyper-focus on dynamic and interesting characters that tell a very highly political-driven story that encapsulates much of the core themes of the Gundam franchise. Blah, blah, blah. Come on, you can do this. And that's pretty much what I want to talk about when it comes to if you're new to the Gundam franchise and if you should start with the series first. Definitely not for your first one, But I'd still recommend you to watch it, though, considering that you already put a couple of other older Gundam series under your belt, and then come back to revisit this series. I didn't like that one. But that's what I have to say when it comes to Turn A Gundam, and if you are new to the Gundam franchise, definitely don't start with this one first. Come back to it when you have a lot more. No, I think I want to cut to some other stuff or whatnot. But that's what I gotta say about the Turn A Gundam series. I lost my steam a little bit. I apologize, guys. Man, this is probably not gonna be a fun live stream one to watch. Like I said, this is to get my gears going here. Alright, well, that's all I have to say about when it comes to you being new to the Gundam franchise, and if you're thinking about watching Turn A Gundam first, definitely don't do that, but keep this under your belt of watching others. And that's what I have to say about when it comes to watching Turn A Gundam first if you're new to the Gundam franchise. Definitely skip on it at first, though. Get a couple of other Gundam series under your belt, then come back and watch this series, because it's definitely worth a watch. That said, for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script on... Alright. Now, as for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script for all the right reasons. Even though it does... I'm trying to cut it down so I don't have to worry about that dragging part. You'll see when I cut this up. Ooh. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Now, as for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script for all the right reasons. Though throughout the entire series, we do have an incredibly slow-paced story alongside with lackluster action, Tomino masterfully utilizes a lot of the slow pacing and tension to create a hyper-focus on dynamic and interesting characters to tell a highly political driven story. Yeah. And for a series, And for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script for all the right reasons. Throughout the entire series, come on. And as a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script for all the right reasons. Throughout the entire series, it does have a incredibly slow pace alongside with lackluster action, but Tomino masterfully utilizes the tension alongside with the slow pace to create a hyper-focus. No, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I apologize, guys. I don't even know how many takes I've done so far on that one. I can promise you, though, at least the video might be shorter than what is now an hour and 28 minutes just to do one review. Alright. Let's do this. Now, for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script for all the right reasons. Throughout the entire series, it does have an incredibly slow pace and lackluster action, but Tomino masterfully utilizes that slow pace and tension to hyper-focus on our dynamic characters and tell a highly political-driven story that manages to encapsulate much of the core themes of the Gundam franchise. Turn A Gundam not only manages to maintain many of the franchise elements, but beautifully and powerfully ties everything together. Like a moonlight butterfly that slowly cascades and eclipses you as you exit the Gundam franchise. Let's try one more time. And for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script for all the right reasons. Throughout the entire series, it does have an incredibly slow pace and a lot of lackluster action, but Tomino masterfully utilizes that slow pace and tension to hyper-focus on our dynamic and interesting characters to tell a highly political driven story that encapsulates much of the core elements of the Gundam franchise. Turn A manages to not only maintain many of those core elements of the franchise, but beautifully and powerfully ties everything together, like a moonlight butterfly that slowly cascades and... Sorry. I'm gonna... Alright, let me try it again. I almost got it. And for a franchise finale, Turn A Gundam really flips the script for all the right reasons. Throughout the entire series, it does have an incredibly slow pace and a lot of lackluster action, but Tomino masterfully utilizes that slow pacing and tension to hyper-focus on our dynamic and interesting characters to tell a highly politically driven story that encapsulates much of the core elements of the Gundam franchise. Turn A manages to not only maintain many of the franchise elements, but beautifully and powerfully ties everything together, like a moonlight butterfly slowly cascading and eclipsing you as you exit the Gundam franchise. If you have the patience, I highly recommend Turn A Gundam. That said, Turn A Gundam gets a solid 4 out of 5. I do have to say that was really, really hard to review because I keep on flubbing up. But yes, this series is really relatively enjoyable, even though there are moments where I was kind of like, this is dragging along or whatnot. Everything had its point, everything had its reason. Not once throughout the entire series I felt like what I had seen didn't correlate or didn't really relate or had any relativity to the story. I've only seen maybe a couple of moments, but in all honesty, everything just works so well. And I truly believe that if Tomino had 10 more episodes, the series would have been so smoothed out with the pacing, and we wouldn't have kind of like that last few episodes where it kind of felt rushed. Everything would be more coherent and not contrived, especially with our characters' motivations and actions. But yeah, definitely a very different Gundam series. Oh, I do apologize. Oh, my Digimon are getting hungry. You guys have seen them. I did do a video not too long ago regarding the Digimon X, and I have 3 Digivices now. Oh my god. I'm actually just trying to go through and just... I treat this like a Pokemon game, where I'm now wanting just to unlock and collect the Digimon just for the fun of it, because I enjoy collecting. So I love collecting games. So it's weird. It's a very different kind of a game, obviously, and I mean, nostalgic blast, but a lot of fun. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Turn A Gundam here. Definitely a very different Gundam series overall. Not what you would expect from not only a Gundam series, but a final entry in the Gundam franchise, or if you want to consider it in that manner. A lot of it does pay off. Again, that slow pacing is kind of a drag at times, but never once throughout only a couple of moments in the entire series where I felt like it was not relevant or paid any importance in the series. But majority of the time that we spent with our characters and the pacing that it took, everything made sense. Everything had a reason. Everything played towards something that would occur later on or play relevant for our characters and their motivations. I do feel like that last few episodes, if Tomio just had 10 more episodes to work with and not just the 50, so 60 episodes overall. I think that those 3 episodes would have been literally smoothed out into those 10 episodes, and it would have been consistently thorough, like from beginning to end. Other than that, it seems weird that I give it a very high score too, despite that I didn't like. I mean, I do complain about pacing and the lack of action though, but it's a very, very interesting watch. If you enjoy characters, if you enjoy following the interactions amongst characters, and not just purely watching the action and stuff like that, this is definitely a Gundam series you can get behind. Fortunately and unfortunately, this is not the same thing that you would see in many of the other Gundam series. Although much of the interesting characters and stuff like that you do see from many of the other works that Tomino has done, such as like Char's Counterattack. I'm going backwards. Char's Counterattack, Victory Gundam, Zeta Gundam, and the original Mobile Suit Gundam. We don't speak of ZZ. Anyways, well, that's my review for Turn A Gundam, but I just want to give you the following. That if you're watching this on Twitch, make sure to follow me on my Twitch channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys. What did you guys think about my review on Turn A Gundam? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Did you think that Turn A was too slow and absolute garbage? Or yeah, you agree with me that this is an actual really solid Gundam series despite its pacing and lack of action? I want to hear from you guys. Leave a comment down below. Also, if you want to keep up with what I'm doing here, you can also follow me on my Twitter account. On my Twitter account, I make announcements of when I'm going live, what I'm going to be reviewing next, and random things here and there. So I do want to thank you guys for watching, and until the next review, I will see you guys next time. Take care. Now, that doesn't end the live stream here. I am going to be ending it pretty shortly, though, but I just want to give you guys updates here. If you don't follow me on my Twitter, I don't really make these announcements on Twitter since I'm kind of wordy. So, yes, with Turn A now done, we are now done with what I consider the full-on UC timeline. Some people would argue, saying, like, well, you should have watched, like all the other Gundams before watching Turn A if you're saying that's the end. But the reason I'm watching that one first is because that one has the most relation towards other suits. For an example, we saw Zaku's, we saw like the Kapuls. We even get, I'm not going to spoil too much or say anything on that one though, but we get images from other Gundam series in there too. So my thing about that is that I wanted to watch the Universal Century in its completion. And the way that Rico G and Turn A had gone about itself, it felt more relatable to watch it within the Universal Century. And I can watch AU at any other point. I can watch AU and fit AU at any point, and it doesn't matter. And after watching those last 2 series, it really does make more sense to me if you watch in that manner. You could still watch like everything UC up to Rico G, scoot everything aside, and then start putting all the AU there. Throw in your G Gundam, your Gundam Wing, Gundam X, Seed, 00, the Build Fighter series, Iron Blooded Orphan. Throw all that in there, and then you can watch Turn A. Yeah, sure, you can do that. Because the way that Turn A tells the story and encapsulates everything, I mean, like, I would say it's future-proofed. unless you create another series that literally goes beyond Turn A. And I will say right now, sorry for people who argue or are confused with Rico G. But Turn A is pretty clear-cut alongside with how Rico G relates towards earlier of the UC and not like beyond Turn A. There is no way you're going to convince me to believe that Rico G takes place after Turn A. And I don't care what Tomino says. Just because you're the director doesn't mean you're always right. I'll tell you that right now. With that said, though, I can confidently say I'm not only done with the UC timeline. I'm not only done with the additional of the UC, but I'm done with the UC or UC Century, additional UC or after UC. But now I have the entire UC timeline completed. Everything makes coherent sense up to that point, especially with the things that you see in Turn A. I keep pointing over there, but let me help you out. Point to Turn A. I am now moving on to the AUs, and first one off the bat, like, and it's weird because like you can watch the AUs at any point or juncture that you want. So I could have started off with Iron Blooded Orphan or something like that. I'm actually gonna watch the AUs in the release of their actual chronological release because they don't have a century that correlates or whatnot. Not like the UC Century and Turn A and Rico where they are fixed within the timeline of the UC Century almost. These ones don't. So I'm gonna be going into next. We're going to G Gundam, which I'm really really excited for. People want to say like, oh well, Turn A is different than most of the Gundam series. I'm like, oh no. People want to give Turn A so much guff, and I'm like, it's unfair guff, in my opinion. You want to give guff, you give guff to G Gundam. This is a Gundam series that broke all the rules. All the rules. I don't want to even hear it from anybody because I've watched G Gundam so many times. I love and enjoy G Gundam, so it might be a spoiler about what my review is going to be about with G Gundam, but I really, really enjoy it. I'm glad to watch it again because it's so fun, and it is incredibly different. If Turn A was different in terms of like how it approached telling a story within the Gundam universe or Gundam franchise, G Gundam breaks a lot of rules of Gundam. I almost want to like talk randomly about it, like, but I'm debating if I want to just save it for the review in the future or not. I'll save that for the review. But breaks a lot of rules. After G Gundam, we're gonna get into Gundam Wing. This one is my between Zeta and Gundam Wing was the reason why I started doing this, right? And I got really, really excited because I really wanted to watch Gundam Wing again. And then when I got into my Gundam box, I saw my other Gundams, and I'm like, oh man, I want to watch Zeta again. I really want to rewatch those. Those are two like really good series I really, really enjoyed. This one's very nostalgic for me, and Zeta was, it's a solid series. So I'm gonna go into that order right here, and it's funny I'm telling you right now because G Gundam was made right after Victory, right after G Gundam, Gundam Wing came out, and after Gundam Wing we have After War Gundam X. So that I will be finished up with all the 90s Gundam series. And after that, we will start moving onward in the chronological order of release. And we are to move right on to Double O. I don't know what you're talking about. What's the Seed and Seed Destiny? What is this? I don't know what you guys are talking about. Released in 2002 and then 2004. I don't know what you're talking about. All seriousness, though, I'm considering it. I just need more people to really push me to say watch Seed. Because one thing is that I have... So for those you don't know, I have additional ideas. I'm not just going to only review the Gundam franchise, right? I'm going through the series. But once I'm done reviewing all available content, part of the Gundam franchise, part of the core portions, I'm not going to do some of the cider ones like the SD Gundams. I'm going to not do those because that's not my care or consideration necessarily. But I'm more concerned about the major ones, the core ones to our franchise. I have a ton of video ideas that I want to do relating towards the Gundam franchise, so I'm not entirely done with that. What will happen though is that I've already speculated, and it seems like I'm consistently able to get a Gundam series done every week, unless it's well, this is gonna be kind of hard because the following series, Turn A. Before it was easier because like I had mixed between movies or OVAs or short series, right? I think the only really long series that I had to watch besides the original Gundam was ZZZ and Victory Gundam, right? Those were the only ones. Everything else I've watched beforehand were either, again, movies, OVAs, shorter series than 50. I have now come into the territory where it's just going to be solid 50 episode series, pretty much. Turn A was 50, G Gundam's 49, Gundam Wing's 49, Gundam X, I think it's 39 episodes if I remember correctly. If I do jump into Seed and Seed Destiny, I believe those are 50 episodes each. After that, Double O is 50. Age. I think Age actually might be. It's funny. I keep going back and like rehashing with you guys what I'm going to watch. Just again keeping you guys up to date. Age. I think it's 26. Right? 49 episode series. Okay, so it's one episode less, but it's still pretty lengthy. Iron Blooded Orphan is a 50 episode series, or 50 episodes, because they broke it up into like seasons 1 and 2, just like they did with Double O. I hate when anime started doing that in the 2010s. I don't understand that, and to me, I'm like, it's a full series, right? Guess not. I know Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try are 26 or 25. There we go. Build Fighters is 25. Divers is 25, and Re-Rise is 25. 26. Okay, so one more episode. And then we got some random movies here and there. But yeah, part of me says like I should watch. I actually have access to Astria as well, so I can watch these. I sadly don't have access to Stargazer. I'm going to try to see if I can get access to Twilight Axis, but I heard very unpleasant things about Twilight Axis, and it's a waste of my time. So, I'm still debating it. But I can confidently say I'm halfway through the Gundam franchise. I've finished up all of this, minus Twilight Access. We did finish up Gundam, or Turn A Gundam, and now we're just kind of going through here. Quite literally, I'm actually going through the actual timeline of release. This is actually done in the timeline of release, because 94 to 95, 95 to 96, 96, 99, 2002, I think this is 2004, right? Yeah, 2004. I was right. 2004, this is 2006? 2007. Because I remember this came out like when I was in college. I couldn't remember if it was like in the mid of it or not. Age should be 2010? 2011. Alright, I was a little bit off. Iron Blooded should be 2014. 2015. Man, I'm like a year. I keep like underestimating myself. And the Build Fighters, I don't remember the time frames of the Build Fighters, honestly. But, yep, I got all of those going here. I've estimated if I'm able to keep up and watch a series per week at this point, because they are now going to be lengthy. Like, seriously. Like, up until this point, everything has been short, right? I was able to get through that and blitz through them. I am now coming to concrete series, so it is going to be much slower pace than it is now. Until I probably hit Build Fighters. That's where I'm not going to be able to do like multiple series or whatnot. I think the next time I'm going to be able to do something multiple might be when I review Gundam Wing, because I can review Endless Waltz, I think. I just have to stay up really late to watch that, because I literally just finished Turn A last night. Barely. Getting through all 50 episodes. So, yeah. So, I'm going to see how it is. We'll play by ear. But when I'm done with this, I anticipate that, quite literally, for those of you who are not estimating this appropriately, I estimate that I should be done with this by end of October, early November. If I keep consistent with my schedule, nothing trips me up or anything like that, no flub ups or whatnot, and saying that it's one series per, with the exception of movies or whatnot, I should be done by October. End of October, beginning of November. Once that occurs, I have plenty of other things I would like to review content-wise within the Gundam franchise, which I'm really, really excited to do. I will not do it necessarily as a live stream review for those portions, because those ones, I'm still working on trying to do like reviews. I don't know if some of you watched it on my channel. I did do a review on the Digimon X. I hold my Digimon so callously. But that was something I wanted to review because it just came out, but also like I wanted to flex my muscles again as I've been doing this content, just doing the live stream releases and doing very hacky editing on Twitch. I have my other programs and stuff like that. I just am trying to build up the confidence again, right? And I did that last week, trying to again test the waters, build my confidence, but also see like how fast I can make something in a relative time frame with minimalistic, not just equipment but material, right? So I did that to see what it's like. So that gives me an idea. I'm gonna try and get all that content readied up for you guys in the future. Up until October, or end of October, early August, or late October, early November, and to start doing this additional content. But once I'm done with Gundam, I have that additional content. I will still be doing reviews. In fact, I might start doing some smaller things. Like I was going to do the review on the 28th anniversary, taking what I learned from doing the review for the Digimon X. I might want to do a review on our 20th anniversary. I'm not too much in a rush to do that one since the 20th anniversary has been out for the last few years. So pretty sure there's other YouTubers that have already done this. I'm not gonna watch those videos because I don't want to bite off anybody, and I want to find my own style, my own way of entertaining you guys. So I'm gonna try and maybe make something. I don't know if I'm gonna do it this week or not. I am tired. It's been a hectic week for me. But yeah. Sorry, just gotta get me some of that drink and not leaving any of that on the rim. But I'm excited to do a lot of the other content, a lot of the other stuff. For those of you who are even remotely curious, at this time frame, on my Digimon X, when I did the review last week, I literally filmed that stuff on the same day. I wrote, filmed, and did everything. It took me about 10 to 11 hours. Now that's the wife. I'm gonna screw with her. Oh my god, honey, you just ruined everything. I'm just kidding.
Stuff.
Ooh, stuff.
I don't know what it is.
It's probably a pouch for the Digimon. I'm just teasing you. Yeah, you need help, right? Okay. I'll be right back. I'm pretty much at the end of the stream here. I'm thinking real fast. Actually, let me do this real quick, okay? I want to show you. So last week, you guys saw my Digimon. It was the it was a Growlmon on the stream or the video. Right now, I have a little Tokomon right on the Digimon X. I am now trying to go through the evolution chain for Gabumon. So Gabumon to Garurumon, Garurumon, and then make a Omegamon is what I'm trying to get to. On the on R, I'm helping Zelda out with hers too. I just did this week. We got a Blitz Greymon.
You adopted my Digimon.
I adopted your Digimon.
I was a terrible mother. I abandoned them.
And killed them intentionally. I can't get it to focus. Come on. It sucks. Anyways, Blitz Greymon and oh, there we go. I guess it did. Got a Blitz Greymon, and I'm working right now to get a Crest Garurumon. We got a Whalon right now, but it should evolve into a Metal Mamemon tonight, I think. And then by Monday, it's gonna digivolve into a Crescarumon, which I will. There's a thing called Jorgressing, which I guess after certain fights they will fusion together like Dragon Ball Z-esque, and create a brand new Digimon, which would be Omegamon, like Omegamon Alter S, is what it is. So that's what I'm trying to do. I might want to also make a video on teaching how to like how to do evolution. I was even thinking hazarding like doing a little vlog on my Digimon evolutions. I don't know what would be interesting content or not, but I thought it'd be kind of fun or educational too to help people out. these virtual pets are pretty fun. I mean, I haven't had a virtual pet since the late '90s with Gigapets. I'd never had a Tamagotchi, and Pocket Pikachu. I had that. Never got Digimon, so I was excited to finally get Digimon for cheap because we got these two during an Amazon Prime Day sale for like $8 a pop. The wife's was about $2 more because it was a different color. And then I enjoyed it too much, and then I ended up getting like this one, the Digimon X, because I wanted to upgrade and play with something that was brand new. Did he fix your knife?
He did.
Oh.
He was able to fix it, but there was some loss. I
Oh,
lost a
no.
little bit of because the rust just ate it away at the corner. But he said with time he can get that out. He's like, he didn't want to sharpen it all the way down to there because then he said I'd lose a lot of blade. And he's all like, but he was able
Oh.
to get most of the stuff out and everything, and yeah, he was able to
Oh.
help fix it up. But it's all sharp again. It's freaking
Oh, I'm afraid of it. So,
yeah. This thing is no joke.
well, I'm afraid of it if it's like not in my hand, basically. For those of you that know, with that particular knife, that's actually a filleting knife. My wife, when we went to Japan many years ago, she purchased that, so it's like one of her mementos of Japan, and that she uses because when she cooks, she likes to use that knife a lot when she fillets like chicken and stuff like that. So, well, what was sad was that I don't know what happened to it. It got rust on portions of it, and we don't even know how it did that because usually whenever with our kitchen knives, we were very, very attentive to it. We love our knives, so we would literally like oil them and like keep them in really good condition, sharpen them and stuff like that. The only thing that sucked with hers, we don't know what had happened, is that when she pulled out the sheath, it showed rust. We think what would have happened was that maybe water got into the sheath and we didn't realize it, and then when we sheathed it and we haven't flayed in a while, and then pulled that out, and then bam, there was rust on it. So glad she was able to get that fixed up, and well, she basically went to one of her many vendors at the farmers market that she goes to, and guy's really, really chill. He's sharpened all of our blades. I point to my blades I have right here. I have a little itty bitty buck knife I use for opening up letters and stuff like that. I love this little guy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just random things here and there I want to kind of chat about, talk about. But yeah, I might do something Digimon related in the future. I'm not entirely certain, but the Digimon videos are just helping me to get content going, get myself more confidence to build content again in that format, not like what I'm doing right now, which is different. Anyways, I am now coming up to my time frame, and Z-Vive needs my help. So that's all I have for the stream today, guys. Very similar to like my end of my videos. If you haven't already and you're watching this on Twitch, make sure to follow me on my Twitch channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and please leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys. What did you think about the live stream overall? What's your thoughts on my review? Did you care about my my Digimon? Do you not care for them? Do you think Digimon suck? Do you think Digimon are awesome? Recommend me a couple of Digimon you want me to. I should probably do. I'll tell you right now. My intention is to collect them all, so I'm gonna make or evolve as many Digimon as I can. Anyways, again, thanks guys for watching, and until the next live stream review, I will catch you guys next time. Take care.